Good afternoon from Heart's Delight, Newfoundland.
We're meeting with Edwin Bishop today to talk about his artwork, hear a little bit about his boat building, and maybe hear some stories.
Yeah, we met up with Edwin online on Facebook, and we recognized his work from when we hiked the Northern Point hiking trail. Barb sent us the CBC Land and Sea documentary they did on him, and we thought it'd be a good story. So here we are.
That there, that's the bottom of an old Franklin fireplace, right? So when the old fishermen, everybody had stoves like that years ago. So when they were getting discarded or thrown away, do you know what gang boards are in boats?
No.
Okay, gang board is kind of a removable deck that the fishermen, the handline fishermen that had in their boats.
Okay.
They'd put that up on the gang boards, and it was called the galley. So that's where they'd light the fire in the bottom of the old stove.
Oh, really?
And that's how they'd boil their kettle and they'd put fish in their bake pot and stuff too. So that was the galleys in there, in small boats, right?
On the small boats?
On small boats, like small fishing boats, like motorboats and punts and stuff like that, right?
Wow.
And I had one, I had a lot of punts and a lot of sailboats. And I had one that I got from an old fisherman up the road there, and I had for oh gee, probably 10 or 15 years. And when I figured if I was going out handline and I wanted to have a scoff of fish, I'd bring the galley out. And it's a safe way to light a fire out in the boat, right? What my father used to do sometimes, and I can only remember this as a boy, he'd fill it half full of sand, and then he'd put a mixture of gasoline and water in the sand. And that way he could light the fire in the sand and not have to use any wood or splits, right?
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty keen. That worked pretty good too, yeah. But you know, with that sitting in the boat full of nice dry splits and lay a lobster on top and roasting on the fire was quite a snack, right?
Yeah, that would be.
It was pretty good. The other thing that you see on the rope there, that's called a capstan. All the boats that the men used for cod traps had capstans in them, and what they do, they go down through the seats on the boats. That's called tots, right? Mm-hmm. And to see the handle going around the top, then they'd pull up their moorings from the traps. They'd hook a half a loop around that, and then the two men turn it and winch the anchor up, right? So they used to call it a capstan. So I made it and just stuck it up there. That's how it would set in the boat, something like that, right?
It's pretty ingenious, isn't it?
Yeah, very.
Yeah, they had some pretty snifty ideas, right? Yeah.
My father used to cod fish with his father, but I moved away from Newfoundland when I was 2, so I didn't see any of that life.
Yeah, I saw a lot of that. Yeah, and then I started getting my own boats after that. I built more than 30. I think probably around 36 wooden boats, right?
Wow.
And sailed most of them. Almost every boat I had sails on it.
Really?
Yeah.
So
I can show you some pictures of some of them later.
what got you into building boats?
Well,
Is
just
that
because
always-
Dad did it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dad did it. First boat I ever built was in Whitburn. I went to work in Whitburn and got married to a girl in Whitburn, and the first boat I built was a 24-foot motorboat in Whitburn.
Wow.
Oh.
In my backyard.
So you knew what you were doing,
Whenever I dragged her
obviously,
down
by
there.
then.
Well, I watched my father building boats all my life, free.
Yeah.
And not only Dad, but all those houses you see around here, almost everybody built boats in.
Really?
You get up in the morning, somebody would be 6 o'clock in the morning, you hear somebody tapping to hook them into a boat.
I guess that's kind of a dying art then.
It's, right here in this area is not, because there's a guy who lives handy to me there. He got a boat right out in front there now with a make and break engine into it, right?
Oh, really?
Ever hear tell the name Henry Volke?
No.
No.
There's an old boat builder from Trinity. he built those couple of boats out there. Right? Last summer, Barb and Phil, for friends, got all of the paintings in off the trail, and they got sponsors, and they made them up into a different material called diabond. Okay. So they're really permanent, right? So then my paintings all got took down, and they got put over in the town council office, and they were just stacked in a corner over there, with everybody throwing stuff in on them and everything. So the paintings now actually belong to the Heritage Committee. So me and one of the councillors, we scrounged them all up one day, and I had them up in my house and did not know what to do with them, because the Heritage Committee don't have a place, they don't have a building, right? So I said, when the spring when I was fooling around, fixing up my shed a little bit, and I said, gee whiz, what place to put my paintings, right? So the way they are there, the order that they're in, start at that one there, and that's the same order. You'll find them on the trail. If you were walking down Northern Point Trail, that's the first one you'll see, and they go around. Same order here on my shed, right?
We actually did the Northern Point hiking trail in the winter, and we saw your paintings, and I believe we showed some of them, but we didn't want to show everybody all of them because we wanted them to come and discover them for themselves.
Yeah. Somebody was saying, gee, I wonder will that discourage somebody going on the trail? But I said, no, I'm not even worried about it, because people goes on the trail are hikers. They want to go hike. Yeah. Some of the people around Hartstead like myself, who can't get around very much, now they can come down there and they could actually see the paintings that's on the trail. So, got a positive side to it too. Right? The order that they're in is around, and they come in through the door. So, okay. And they're almost in exact order that they are on the trail, right?
So you have your shed open during the summertime?
In the winter it's always open, never a lock on it.
And you're encouraging people to come down and see your paintings and this beautiful shed you painted?
Yeah, absolutely. When Pauline and the CBC crew came around to do the Land and Sea program, I actually had this shed hauled in there in the garden, because somebody who shares this land with me, my little shed was on the ground in there. So they wanted to move it, and I said, well, you move it, you got to put it back where I want it. So when Pauline came with her crew, I actually did this painting on the front of the shed with them as part of the show.
Wow.
So that old easel right there sitting behind it, that's the old easel that one of my brothers made for me when I started painting. And that's the easel that I used to paint all of those paintings up in my shed.
So did you go to school to learn how to paint, or were you just
I only just started to learn. I started painting when I had a hip replacement in around 2000, probably around 2004 or something like that. And I was sitting home pretty bored after having a hip replacement, because I was a pretty active person all my life, had different stuff. And then one of my sons, or two of them or three of them, said, you know what, Dad should go painting. So they bought me a Bob Ross painting kit, and I never looked back since.
Really?
Still trying to do a masterpiece. They're all just almost all done with house paints. Barb came first, and she asked me if I'd do a sign for the Northern Point Trail. So the first thing I did a little sign, and then I said, gee whiz, I wonder would she like to have a picture. Barb came back, and she was so excited, but then she started bringing me plywood. Every day was Barb with an armful of plywood. And I said, you keep bringing the plywood and I'll keep giving you painting.
Well, you have a hidden talent, that's for sure.
So have you lived in this community all your life?
I was reared here. And I moved away as a teacher when I was 18 years old. I was born in 1943. And then I went to Long Beach Trinity Bay teaching school for 2 years, and then I went to Hartskin and teach 2 years, and then I went to university for a couple of years, and I ended up then in Whitburn. In 1968 I went to Whitburn at the youth center up there, and I stayed there until I retired in 1994. Oh,
wow.
In different positions here. So I'm a Hartskin man. We came back here, I retired in 1994, and we came back here and built that little house up there on Dad's old property in 2003.
Nice.
And my wife is from Whitburn. She's a London from Whitburn, Marjorie London, she was. So now we're Hartsted people again. When I did Morgan's Memorial, Barb got the diabond one made for the trail, but I gave the original to Morgan's mother. Okay. He's the boy who died when he was only 20 years old. He was He was a fireman and he was right active in the community and stuff. So Barb asked me to do it. I'd do a picture for him for a little memorial. So that one it's a picture. You know, it's a little picnic area there on Northern Point Trail.
Yeah, we've seen it.
His picture is there on that.
Oh, okay.
So the original was a fairly big one, but I gave that to his mother for a keepsake for herself, right? Northern Point, that's the first part of the trail. Then there's Temple's Rock where we all used to play. And I don't know if you see, you wouldn't have seen it in the winter, but people carved their names in this big flat rock.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a big flat rock. Oh, geez, as big as that beach there. And people carved their names into it, right? There's names goes back a long time. Then there's Scouts Hill Lookout, and that's Red Rock Cove. That's my rendition of Barb's husband and their dog. That's Long Rock Cove with Barb and Wayne and the dog. And this is a place we used to call this green patch. It's a place that when we were growing up, there was always fishermen used to talk about and say that the place where the Indians used to live, right? But I had at one particular point, I got an archaeologist named Bill Gilbert to come out there and have a look. He said, no, it was an older part of the original settlement here, but it was not natives. So, but it was. He said it definitely was farmed or something years ago, right? So that's why we call it Green Patch. It's one of the highest cliffs down on the shore. We call that Crow's Nest. And if you were down there hiking now, there is. It might not look exactly like this, but there is a little bridge across the top of the trail. That's one of the places down along the trail where always a good spot for watching waves. I'd say it's been about 5 years since I've been able to walk down. But unfortunately for me, I can't see the trail anymore, right? So I just got to go by what I remember about it and what other people tells me and shows me. Right? So, but you know, that's still fun for me. Then it comes around this way, then right here. This is an interesting one. It's called the Bible Gulch. There's a place down along the shore, and there's a real narrow waterway between two high cliffs. And even up at my house on a certain particular time when the wind and the waves is going in there, you can actually hear the noise. And the old fellows used to call it music, right? You hear the music down Bible Gulch today, right? So that's what that's about.
Yeah, I actually remember reading that sign about that singing rocks.
Yeah, yeah. And that's one that's fairly close called the Big Scrape. I remember one time when I was a kid, there was a pony fell off that.
Wow.
Belonged to an old fella around. That's a picture of me building one of my boats. Barb took that down and put it on a place that she calls Edwin's Junction. That's a little satellite dish that I did. That goes right on Northern Point Crown. And what I did is satellite visions, and I made a little sign to go up with that here. And I say here's how it works. You sit on the bench, close your eyes, look out over the top of the satellite and see what you can remember or what you can vision what's happening 10, 15 or 100 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like I was able to remember the schooners going along, the people at Squidgy, the seals on the ice, fishermen in their dories, little cabin crew that's going around. Coast Guard went right along there one day when I was actually doing it. And then a little sailboat like I had, and men hauling their contracts and then just cruising around for fun and a sailboat again. The trail that we call Northern Point Hiking Trail now used to be, years ago it was referred to as the Gunner's Path, and I was kind of a little bit sorry after all this got going and got to be so popular, I kind of got a little bit sorry that we actually changed the name. And you know, sometimes I think I probably should have left the name as Gunner's Path, right? Mm-hmm. But you know, 9 years ago when I started the trail first, I had a crowd of students on a grant, and we just came up with, let's call it Northern Point Trail, right? See, when we were kids, everybody had a boat like that dragging us around the beach, right? So those two belong to my grandkids. I got twin grandkids.
Oh, nice.
And they're 17 years old now. But this is, right here, look, this is called a tansy pot. See, when we were all kids, we'd throw those down on the bottom, and these belongs to my grandchildren. They did the same thing. We put a bit of bait in the bottom, and then a crab or a tansy would get in there. Then we pull up the rope, the water would drain up the bottom, and we'd have ourselves a crab or a tansy cod, right? Sometimes you get Sometimes the can will be full.
So what's a tansy?
Tansy is a little, it looks like an eel, but they're only about this long. Right?
Oh.
And they got backs that's really thorny. And they can stick in your fingers and stuff like that.
Oh.
So we just like kitchen for fun, that's all. When Barbie wanted to sign, I sat down with my router and I carved that in a piece of wood. That's the first painting I ever showed Barb for the trail, right? So there's a place down further on the trail called Boar Point, and this represents Boar Point, and it's a really good spot for fishing in the food fishery season. Everybody likes to hang out there. Down farther along the shore, my father used to set lobster pots, and most of the people who goes up and down the shore keeps off safe out in the bay between by those big rocks here. But Dad obviously wanted to go through the tickle, so that's why I painted a picture of him going through the tickle, because when I was in the boat with Dad, almost was really rough when we went through the tickle. See, the way we learned to talk, you know how Newfoundlanders are, we talk fast, and so everybody came up with a name that's Goring Cove. So, but actually, when I researched the story, it was called Gold Ring Cove, because there was a story that somebody either lost a ring or found a ring down there, and it was Gold Ring Cove. But, you know, the name got changed in the way we talk, and it became this common. You say I was down to Gold Ring Cove. A lot of people around here said, but where the hell is that at? Well, it's Goring Cove, because that's how everybody.
Gotta say it fast.
Real nice days on Sunday evenings. It was a pretty good habit for families around here to throw the family in the boat and head off to Goring Cove for a picnic, right? So that's what that represents, pulling the boats in close to the sand, throwing out the anchor and going in to have a picnic. The next one is Big Rock Lookout. Now that painting there is with the Land and Sea Pro. Pauline asked me to do one special painting for the show, and that's the one that I actually did for the show. That painting was done up in my art shop. I painted it for the trail, but it was for the show, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
There's another little one off the green patch. Mostly they're done with house brushes and trim-clad oil paint. Some of the little figures are done with a smaller brush, but almost all this work here is done with bigger brushes, right? And they're all oil house paint.
Wow.
It's hard to mix colors when you only got 3 or 4 oil paints, right?
So are you still painting now?
Oh yes, I paint here and there every now and again. I'm trying to learn how to paint outdoors now, but it's not working out too good, but you know, I still have fun at it though. This scene here is what was on the shore here when I was a kid, right? Like for instance, this house right there would be the yellow one that you see over there now, look. So on the wall I tried to capture what it was like there on that shore when I was a boy, right? And even when I was a man, up to a certain age, right? I did some paintings for keeping the beaches clean. There's one behind you on the door there.
Oh yeah, I
And
saw
there's one there, and there's one on my easels, and they're on 3 different beaches around the town. Some of our nicer beaches, but they're all changed to that dial material too now, so I get to keep them here in my shed, like.
that. So it's a homemade anchor.
Yeah, rocking a little crooked wood.
And what are they called?
Kelly. I met hundreds of them in my lifetime. Yes, we made everybody in there. We made them years ago. I don't say there's anybody around here my age never made one of them. My last big boat got sold to a guy up in Collingwood, Ontario.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He sent a transport truck here and picked her up last spring.
Wow.
20 foot.
That's a long way to go.
Yeah. The stories go through everything, right? I had a friend here that grew up with me up the road there, same age as me. He went away when he was about 13 years old, never heard, hiding or hearing until my boat went to Collingwood. I had a Facebook message and asked me, are you the Edwin Bishop I used to play with when I lived in Hartsley, at least 69 years ago or something like that. And so the conversation going back and forth on Facebook was that he saw a boat going through Collingwood, Ontario. He inquired about it and found out that she came from Hartsley and she was built by me.
Wow.
Amazing.
And that was a pretty good story.
And it connected you with an old friend.
Connected with an old friend because of my boat.
Wow, pretty amazing.
Yeah. I put a little book for people to sign if they want to.
Nice.
It'd be nice if you people now be first today be the first ones.
Well, yeah, we'll definitely sign
Yeah,
it for
because
sure.
I'd like that.
When you come see Edwin's stage and artwork, don't forget to sign his guest book. Let's see how we can fill this up from people all over the world.
Well, we had a very special day with Edwin. He was a great storyteller. He has fantastic artwork. It was a really good day.
Yeah, it was a real pleasure to meet Edwin. We'd love to hear his stories, and it's so fantastic that he's opened up his stage and put his artwork in here for everybody to see. If you're down in Heart's Delight, this is a must-come see.